This video is about the painting Mr. and Mrs. Andrews, painted in 1748 to 1750 by Thomas Gainsborough, and how he multi-referenced the artist William Hogarth. My art analyses focus mostly on information that's not found in books yet, and these analyses are all my opinion, so look for yourself and see if you agree. If you don't agree with me, I don't mind, although I'm telling you what I believe to be true. My hope is that more people look at art and that more people talk about art. Multi-referencing is an existing word, but I added the definition of an art technique that I think secretly master artists have used for centuries, where artists take parts from several works, if not all the works of art, by another artist, and incorporate these small parts into their own artwork. I'm going to show you the painting Mr. and Mrs. Andrews by Thomas Gainsborough side by side with many paintings by William Hogarth, and I'm going to point out the references. This first Hogarth painting that I want to look at is called Marriage à la Mode, the Tête-à-Tête by William Hogarth. Painted around 1743 to 1745, it's at the National Gallery in London. William Hogarth painted, I think, 8 paintings in the series Marriage à la Mode, and I'll be showing you several here. Looking at the tête-à-tête, notice that the faces of the man and woman in the tête-à-tête look very much like the faces of Mr. and Mrs. Andrews, which gives me a strong clue that Gainsborough is multi-referencing William Hogarth. I call this the big breadcrumb. Mr. Andrews has the same black pants, white stockings, and black shoes as the husband in the tête-à-tête. Mrs. Andrews wears the same shoes, but a different color dress, but still with the wide style, sure to be the fashion of the time. The reference of Mr. and Mrs. Andrews to the husband and wife in the tête-à-tête is a strong indication that the marriage of Mr. and Mrs. Andrews might not be going well. In the painting, the Andrews also do not appear affectionate and do not touch each other. References to other artworks are an excellent way for an artist to say more in an artwork, to tell a more elaborate story. The secrets to the world's artwork can often be found in the rest of the world's artwork. An artist can multi-reference other art in a drawing, a painting, a sculpture, or a photograph, or all of these in a single work of art. Notice that there's a dog in both paintings, both looking up and to the right. The butt of Mr. Andrews' rifle has a black angular shape, like the black angular shape of the coat tail of the servant at the far left in the tête-à-tête. Both the husband and wife are cheating on each other, according to Wikipedia, and I believe it's an accurate account of many things in the tête-à-tête painting shown on Wikipedia. The dog has found a lady's nightcap in the man's pocket, and the woman has wet stain on the front of her dress, hints of them cheating on each other. Next we look at Portrait of Captain Thomas Gainsborough, painted in 1740 by William Hogarth. It's at the Foundling Museum in London. Captain Gainsborough wears black shoes with silver buckles like Mr. Andrews in Gainsborough's painting. The Hogarth tapestry hanging in the upper right corner of the Captain Gainsborough painting has similar color and shape of the shadows as the rows of wheat in the lower right-hand corner of Mr. and Mrs. Andrews' painting. The thick round pillar in the Captain Thomas Gainsborough painting is referenced by the thick round tree trunk behind the Andrews couple. The trunk is not quite as upright as the pillar. This reference also points to the foundation of the relationship of Mr. and Mrs. Andrews might not be the strongest. Also, the first branch of the tree branches go in 2 different directions, one toward Mr. Andrews and the other away from him. Perhaps this is a metaphor for the husband and wife going in different directions. Also, the tree stands firmly behind Mrs. Andrews and not Mr. Andrews, perhaps to say that she is the foundation of the marriage and not him. Hogarth's book on the floor is partly open, and we see an inside white page with an acute angle in the upper right corner. Gainsborough referenced this with Mr. Andrews' left leg, showing an acute angle of the top part of his white stocking. The globe, seen in the lower right corner of the portrait of Captain Thomas Gainsborough, is referenced in the Mr. and Mrs. Andrews painting with the green bench and the tree just to the right of Mrs. Andrews. The green globe shape is very close to Mrs. Andrews, but far away from Mr. Andrews. This proximity difference can infer meaning in the reference, but I'm not sure quite how to decipher it without knowing more about Mr. and Mrs. Andrews. She has more access to the world, or maybe she is more worldly, or Mr. Andrews can only access other areas with the help of Mrs. Andrews. The next Hogarth painting which I want to compare is The Life of a Debaucher, which is a series of paintings, and this one is called The Tavern. It's a detail, part of the whole picture. Painted in 1732 to 1735 by William Hogarth, it's at the Sir John Soanes Museum in London. The woman portrayed here is rather promiscuous, as she carelessly exposes her breast and has black marks on her face from syphilis. She's wearing the same shoes as Mrs. Andrews, making her literally in the tramp's shoes. The debaucher also wears a top with a frilly sleeve cut just below her elbow with bare forearms, and Mrs. Andrews also wears a top with frills just below her elbows and showing her bare forearms. Next, we look at the sleeping congregation, a detail, painted in 1728 and 1729 by William Hogarth. It's at the Minneapolis Institute of Art in Minnesota. The woman in the lower left corner of the sleeping congregation has white frilly sleeves just below her elbows with bare forearms like Mrs. Andrews, and also like the last painting I showed you in this video. The arc of the staircase banister on the left side of the Hogarth painting is repeated in the arc of the green furniture just to the right of Mrs. Andrews. The sleeping congregation has two circular plates on a table in the lower right of the painting, making two arc shapes together in the top outline of the plates, and Thomas Gainsborough painted similar shapes in the top of a gray cloud, the one in front of the white cloud in the top part of Mr. and Mrs. Andrews' painting. The dark oval shape in the lower right corner, hanging on a wall, has a shape and outline like the green globe shape of treetop on the right of Mrs. Andrews, also discussed in an earlier comparison. This is the inspection from the Marriage a la Mode series, like the earlier Tête-à-Tête painting. The inspection was painted around 1743 to 1745 by William Hogarth. It's at the National Gallery in London. Here the man wears white stockings and black shoes with buckles, like Mr. Andrews. His narrow straight cane is referenced by Mr. Andrews' rifle barrel. The woman on the right shows a bare forearm and a white frilly sleeve, similar to Mrs. Andrews. This is children's theater performance in John Conduit's house, a detail, part of the whole painting, painted in 1731 and 1732 by William Hogarth. It's at the Galway City Museum in Ireland. The woman is pointing down and to the right at the same angle as Mr. Andrews is pointing his rifle in the Gainsborough painting. The woman's pointing arm has a long white glove on which has a color and shape like the white stocking on Mr. Andrews' legs. Next, we look at the Graham Children, painted in 1742 by William Hogarth. It's at the National Gallery in London. The Graham girl in blue is wearing almost the same design of blue dress as Mrs. Andrews. The Graham boy, sitting on the right, is wearing a similar white stockings on his legs and black buckled shoes like Mr. Andrews. From the references to this Hogarth painting, we can infer that Thomas Gainsborough may be saying that Mr. and Mrs. Andrews are being childish. The previous Hogarth painting in this video, Children's Theater Performance, also connects the Andrews to being children. The yellow T-handle on the cart in the center foreground of the Graham Children painting is referenced by the yellow rows of hay, with stacks of hay to the right of the rows forming a similar color and shape as the T-handle on the cart. At the far right of the Graham Children painting is a gray chair with a cat on top of it looking at the bird in the birdcage. In the Mr. and Mrs. Andrews painting, there's a cloud at the far right with a curve above the trees that is the same shape and color as the chair, and it's in the same location of the painting as the chair, which increases the likelihood that the reference is deliberate. Most artistic references that I show you could by themselves be considered a coincidence, but when you see that there's one or more references in each artwork of all of another artist's works, then there's much less likelihood that the references are coincidence. And when you see lots of videos, which I've created, with many artists over the centuries using the multi-reference technique, then there's an even greater likelihood that what I'm saying is true. I think that someday computers will be able to look at artwork and tell us which artists are multi-referenced with a % probability. This is the Levee, painted by William Hogarth in 1732 to 1735. It's at the Sir John Soanes Museum in London. The man in the center foreground of the Levee wears white stockings and black dress shoes with silver rectangular buckles, just like Mr. Andrews. Both men have the viewer's left foot in a similar tiptoe position as well. The Levee also shows a man on the right side wearing a black hat with 3 points and a gold-colored outline on the hat. Mr. Andrews wears a similar hat, although it's rotated differently. This is the Staymaker, the whale body maker, painted around 1744 by William Hogarth. It's at the Tate Gallery in London. The man at the far left, the tailor, and the child marching in the middle of the Staymaker both have white leggings and black shoes like Mr. Andrews. The man on the left, the tailor, also has his right leg bent at the same angle as the left leg of Mr. Andrews. The marching child carries a baton, which is a dark, long, thin shape like the gun held by Mr. Andrews. The reference to the marching child again connects the possibility that Mr. Andrews is being childish. The more references to this, the more likely that the connections are deliberate. The woman on the far right of the Staymaker painting has a blue dress that is a similar style and color of the dress worn by Mrs. Andrews. The next painting by William Hogarth, which I want to compare, is Captain Lord George Graham in his cabin, painted around 1745. It's at the National Maritime Museum in London. There's a brown and white spotted dog in both paintings, and the dogs are both looking up and to the right. There's also another dog on the far right of Hogarth's painting, wearing a wig. 2 men in Hogarth's painting wear white stockings on their legs, and at an angle like Mr. Andrews. The Hogarth man on the left, in white stockings, also wears similar black pants and black shoes with a buckle like Mr. Andrews. The man on the right, in white stockings, wears a gray jacket with a color and style like the gray jacket worn by Mr. Andrews. The man with dark skin at the far right hitting a drum in Hogarth's painting wears a light-colored hat with a rounded top, which has a similar shape and color as the top of the hat worn by Mrs. Andrews. The wide tablecloth draped to the floor in the Captain Lord George Graham painting in his cabin has a wide flowing shape like the dress worn by Mrs. Andrews. This is another painting from the series Marriage a la Mode. This is the Bagnio, the Murder of the Count, painted around 1743 by William Hogarth. It's at the National Gallery in London. The dying count in the Bagnio wears the same black pants, white stockings, and black shoes with silver buckles as Mr. Andrews does. The swords in the Hogarth painting are referenced by the long rifle held by Mr. Andrews. The bundle of wood kindling in the lower left corner of the Bagnio is similar to the bundles of hay in the lower right corner of Gainsborough's painting. The Bagnio prominently displays a woman in a painting on the far wall, and she has her bare right forearm at the same angle as Mrs. Andrews holds her bare right forearm. This is another scene from the Marriage a la Mode series. This is the Marriage Settlement, painted around 1743 to 1745 by William Hogarth. It's at the National Gallery in London. All the men in William Hogarth's painting wear white leggings and black buckled shoes like Mr. Andrews does. The crutch leaning against the chair on the far right of the Marriage Settlement has the same angle as Mr. Andrews' rifle, and the reference hints that Mr. Andrews uses his gun as a crutch, and he's not as tough as he makes out to be. The circular portrait on the left wall of Hogarth's painting has a green curve on the right side of it, like the tree just to the right of Mrs. Andrews in the distance. Hogarth's 2 curved half circles at the top of the window in the upper right corner have a shape and dark color like the bottom of the dark cloud just below the white cloud in the Mr. and Mrs. Andrews painting. There are also dogs in both paintings. Next we look at the Strode family, painted before 1738 by William Hogarth, also at the National Gallery in London. Dogs and men wearing white leggings with black buckled shoes are featured in both paintings. The man at the far right of the Strode family portrait has his white stockinged right leg upright and at the same angle as the white stockinged right leg of Mr. Andrews. Hogarth's small square box on the floor in the center of the bottom edge and the dark drape in the upper left corner are obvious hints that this painting multi-referenced Johannes Vermeer, which I'm not going to get into here, but know that multi-referencing is a very prevalent method used by master artists, going back from the 13th century up to the present time. The drape in the upper left corner has dark acute angles of the hanging corners, which are similar to the dark acute angles of Mr. Andrews' hat. This is the painting Moses Before Pharaoh's Daughter, painted in 1746 by William Hogarth. It's at the Foundling Hospital in London. Hogarth's seated woman, the Pharaoh's daughter, I think, has bare forearms like Mrs. Andrews. The standing child, which I think is Moses, has both his legs at the same angles as the legs of Mr. Andrews, another connection of Mr. Andrews with a child. The rounded point of the top of the building in the top left corner of Hogarth's painting is shaped like the rounded point of the top of Mr. Andrews' black hat. As you can see from this video, multi-referencing allows an artist to tell a more elaborate story in their drawing or painting or sculpture or photograph. Thomas Gainsborough painted Mr. and Mrs. Andrews while William Hogarth was still alive and Hogarth was still active as a painter in 1750. I think it's very likely that Hogarth made a painting multi-referencing back to Thomas Gainsborough, and they may have multi-referenced each other back and forth several times, sort of a coded broadcast that other people who knew about multi-referencing could see as well. Gainsborough and Hogarth were both very well-known artists within their own lifetimes, and I suspect that it was a common practice for young up-and-coming artists to multi-reference a famous artist who was still active, especially when they're from the same country, in hopes that the famous artist would reference back to them and help immortalize the young artist's work who's trying to become recognized in the art community. To look at other artists who may have referenced each other back and forth, look to the Italian Renaissance artists, and also look to the Dutch masters, as they're sure to have referenced each other. I have a free newsletter where I talk about tools for understanding and also creating master artworks. I hope that you subscribe. Thank you for watching.